Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Global Desi Women, the podcast where we celebrate the voices, stories, and the power of Desi women across the globe. I'm your host, Arti Solanki, a business coach, real estate broker, and author of Hindu Rituals. Along with me, I have my incredible co host, Vinoo Palicha, founder of Vdesi Ethnic Wear Collection. Today's guest is someone who embodies healing, authenticity, and empowerment in her, I guess, in a very trusted form, right? Joining us is Sheetal Singh, a holistic nervous system based chiropractor, yoga instructor, and a director of functional health, a wellness practice she created to help people reconnect with their most authentic selves. Sheetal's philosophy is rooted in the idea that true health and happiness comes from within, and that healing isn't just physical, it's emotional, energetic, and deeply personal. From working with thousands of individuals to leading retreats and preparing to launch authenticity coaching, Sheetal is a guiding light for those ready to break free from old narratives and survival patterns. She's joining us all the way from New Zealand. So grab your cup of chai and let's get started. Sheetal, welcome to Global Desi Women podcast. I truly appreciate your time and coming to our podcast to enlighten us with everything we need to learn about the holistic way of, I guess, I don't even know where to start. What does it really mean by holistic chiropractor? I have no idea. So I think we need to be enlightened with that first.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. Um, in love with that. Yeah, so I'm first very, very lucky to be here. Thank you so much. Holistic chiropractic. So holistic, first of all, what that means is whole thing, right? You're looking at everything together. So in its true essence is holistic anyways, because the idea of chiropractic is to work on the nervous system, which is the brain, the spinal cord, and all the nerves that come out of it to help the whole body function better. And when I say I'm a holistic chiropractor, I basically mean I am considering and looking into the whole fact that yes, it is maybe you bent over and picked up a towel. Yes, it might be an injury while you're playing football, soccer, but there's also other factors that have come into play to actually allow your body to be in the space to even get injured. So there would have been things that you've eaten, things that you've been thinking about, your environment, and all these different things, not just the muscle tension, not just your structure or your posture, all the different factors come into play, which is why I call it holistic and looking at all the different factors that could be impacting you. It's actually funny because sometimes we have people come in for back pain, typically, right? Like that's why the people go to chiropractor and they will fill out the form. And our form has questions, the initial intake form. It will have questions that says, do you have any significant trauma or emotional history? And will ask me, why are you asking me this? And then I'll typically, what I found is when people have had a sudden onset of pain, there was also a significant thing that might have been happening in their life around the same time. So there's always a connection with everything happening. It's not just I fell or I slept funny, which typically people say a lot like, hey doc, I think I slept funny, my neck's sore. But it's like, okay, did you have maybe a little whiplash before that day before you slept funny? Or did you eat stuff that maybe made your gut feel unhappy, which put your body into more inflammation and therefore made you vulnerable enough to have gotten a sore neck from sleeping funny, quote unquote. So yeah, that's what I mean by holistic, looking at
Wow.
everything together, the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's all whole body, mind, everything, emotions, everything together.
Is there a
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
you got into this field? Something inspired you to, or because holistic way of looking at things is very different from any other, like I guess a normal way.
The common way. I, no, I don't have anything. Basically, long story short, went to the chiropractor college. Of what they spoke about at that time, I was only in high school. I think I was 15 years old. And they spoke about that the body can heal itself. And I was like, I've never heard about this. I mean, it was quite different to like you said, normal way, right? what you brought up thinking. And they said, as long as the body's got the right environment. So I just got attracted to what they were speaking about passionately. But in terms of the holistic view, I think it's bit by bit everything I've learned from whether it was by some inspiring chiropractors or also just I think I've been graduated for 7 years now, but before that, you've also had your internship. So the last 9 years, with working with so many people, you begin to realize that connection. Like, hey, it's actually not just one thing, but not just that. It's actually my own journey I've gone through when I've worked with chiropractors to work on improving myself for self-development. I've actually noticed the link between the gut or the movement, lack of movement, the thought processes, the environment I was around, and how that impacted how I would deliver my art, the adjustments, or how I would be able to help people, or even when I go for runs. I love running, and I've noticed the difference between how that would impact my body. And so I think it's the combination of my experience with people and seeing how they've grown and they've changed, plus my own experience with my own self-growth journey, to be able to realize, hey, if I truly want to help people, it goes down to this. And then it goes down to like, okay, well, if we're really helping people with a deeper level, being to realize everything impacts everything, then I began to realize, oh, wait a minute. If you just begin to strip layers off, and like we spoke about, like you said in the beginning, and the what was the thing that we see, narratives and all these different things that begin to layer up, and that is what creates our habits of I want to be eating ice cream or salty chips or not moving and all these different things. So deeper than that is that. So yeah.
Yeah. That that's so awesome. Like, because it's so true. Like, it's all the healthy habits that you have to build up to. I call those the micro habits, right? Because as I always say, if you want to add something new to your habits, you try that for a week or two, and then you start another. Because people tend to have like, oh, I'm gonna change my life around. I'm gonna do this. They write down 10 different things, and none of them work because they try to incorporate everything together, and that never works, right? So you also mentioned growing up with this deep feeling of inner alignment. How did that evolve into science backed wellness practice, right? So how is that two connected?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, first of all, the wellness practice that I have right now, I bought into this place. I was working here, and the idea is to kind of, after realizing how everything impacts everything, to allow many more practitioners, many more forms of healers, practitioners to come in here and help people. Now, how did I get into this? In terms of alignment or inside out work, I remember being, this is a really random story, but I just remember being in high school, I think around 14 years old. I was just vacuuming the house and realizing all of a sudden that when I get told off, because obviously you're a teenager, obviously you get told off by parents, when you get told off, I have the choice to react. Like it just randomly occurred to me, okay, I have a choice to react and get angry, then stay pissed off the whole day, or just listen and then let it go. Obviously, I did not have the deeper knowledge I have now, but that occurred to me that I actually have the power to choose. I am in charge of things. And then I began to realize that's when the journey kind of began of realizing there are times where I'm aware of this and there are times where I'm not. And that's when you begin to realize, okay, what affects this state? What allows me to be there? And I began to then put that to the fact that when I'm just now I can recognize that. But back then I was like, there's something about almost like you just being,
Yeah.
just am. And I didn't really know how to explain that, but it just felt like, you're just shining inside out. And that's where nothing on the outside world can impact you. Now, this is just a 14-year-old, didn't know much of the science to it. But then you go through chiropractic college, and I don't know if you've heard of Bruce Lipton. He's known about immunology and just done all these amazing things. He's began to realize the whole epigenetic stuff, and he's quite big in that world. So he would come to our chiropractic college, and he taught us the immune system, immunology, I can't remember what it was called, that paper. And he spoke about this whole thing about inside out. up, down, inside out, I think that's what it's called, where, your environment can impact you, but it actually starts within. So it was mind over matter. And he spoke about how cells, if you put the same cell in different environments, then that will impact the growth and whether it becomes a cancer cell or not. And so I think that knowledge plus my experience began to connect the dots and being introduced to mind over matter, mindset stuff. And I was like, okay, well, there was something to this. So that started to into the science of like quantum physics as well. And okay, well, what you think is what you're releasing, the chemicals you're releasing into the body. And that was, I guess, introduction to the science of it. And then realizing, coming out of college and then working with other forms of healers or self-growth people, even the ex-owner of functional health, and she introduced me to the whole idea of body. And I'm not sure if you've heard about somatic stuff. So a lot of people talk about somatic. So rather than mindset, actually just last night I heard that 20% of our thinking actually comes from the brain signals, 20% goes brain down to the body, whereas 80% comes from body to the brain. So there's a lot of things that our body holds. So now this goes down to inner child stuff, and that's the science of that, the psychology, trauma, and how our body holds on to things. And that then allowed me to put all of these things. So there's like epigenetics, there's quantum physics, there's neurological things and how the brain releases chemicals into the body, then how the body holds into emotions and muscle memory, all of that into, so it's layers creating belief systems, layers creating our responses, our reactions, our habits. And that means when I was younger, when I was 14 years old, when I spoke about something about like, it felt like you're just shining inside out and nothing impacts you, that's when you are free from all those layers. And so that's the science to the inside out shining something.
Let's take a quick break.
Hi, this is Rahul, host of the Bearded Mystic podcast. Subscribe to this podcast as I dive deep into the philosophy of non-duality within Hinduism. I speak about the teachings of the mystics from numerous traditions. There's guided meditations, and currently I'm giving my thoughts on the Bhagavad Gita. Come and join me. Subscribe right now to the Bearded Mystic podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you're listening now.
Wonderful, and like you mentioned, that each cells in different environments, and it's such a true and fact, because even with the plants, they've tested it, like one plant, all in the same soil, all the same plants, and they're same place, but one is given the love, one is given the hatred, one is like ignored, and flourishes the most. And it's such a surprising thing that the plant just with just love, that the one you talk to them and you give them love, and then they flourish really well. So it's the same with us as human as well, and I strongly believe in that. And another powerful example to that is, water. We think that we're just drinking water, but when you keep that glass and when you say positive affirmations, when you say something positive, that this water is going to give me health, and it's going to nourish me, and then drink that water, it affects deeply into your body than just drinking a glass of water without any, because it's the vibrations that the water has got from that information, the sound or whatever you call it, and then it helps you with that. I think if I'm don't go by my word, I know they've done that test where they have tested the water with the vibrations, and the ones that have been with the sounds of affirmations and all that stuff, and then just the regular water, and it both had different effects on people. So they have done that study. So it's really sorry, go ahead.
Even to the point where they actually look at the molecular level of the cellular level of the water structures to the one that they've meditated to, they've seen it just creates such beautiful shapes. And the one that they've spoken negatively to or said some crappy stuff to, it creates a different kind of shape. So like you said, it's a vibration, right? And that goes down to the science again. That was another level of like understanding, okay, it's the vibration, what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're believing, but also not just that deeper within what you've been taught, not really what you're telling yourself, but you've been taught that for either your parents, your guardians, are always saying, hey, you can't afford this, or you can't be like this, whatever. And they all, so either someone told you that, or it would have been something like someone took something away from you, and then you learned, okay, I I don't I'm not worthy of that. So it's these deeper things that
Yeah.
create a certain way of vibrations, and that will create a certain way of patterning. So your muscles, like for example, when you're really, really tired and tensed, or you don't feel great in yourself, you will do this, and that's just
Yeah.
a certain level of vibration. You'll roll in your shoulders. So I just realized this is mainly audio. So you roll in your shoulders, you're closing your chest, and you'll feel tight through that area. And of course, if you're going to be doing that, now let's go to another level. What does that do? You're closing in the chest, so your rib cage is not moving so well. How about your lungs? Now you're compressing your lungs capacity, and then your heart's not pumping so well. Okay, well, if your heart's not pumping well and your lungs not doing that, so you probably have imbalance of oxygen and blood flow through the body. Like,
You're
everything
making
just
me sit
starts
up right
rolling.
Yeah.
now. I said you're making me sit up, right? And conscious of the fact that I was also kind of slouching.
I always have the habit of keeping my shoulders straight and broad. Even my kids still tell me that it's because of you we learned otherwise. When kids are teenagers and they're growing, they're kind of like slouchy, and I always used to like give them a little pat on their back and say, "Come on, don't slouch." Shoulders back, shoulders back. I guess that's one of the things I learned in my convent school. Like all the nuns, walking on the hallway, they would always come. If you walk past a nun, she'll always come and say, shoulders back, shoulders back. And so I've got
Wow.
into the habit of like shoulders back. But now I understand, like at that time, it was like, oh my gosh, really? Like now you understand why they were telling you to have your shoulders like pulled back straight and have it like a straight,
Yeah, now
back.
it's a scientific reason for that now.
Yeah, yeah. Not because as when you're young, you're kids, you don't understand why they're telling you certain things. Like just for the example of the water, I remember, I think most of the Hindus do this. Our grandmother and everybody in our family always taught us like we put the glass of water in front of our deity, our gods, and while we're praying and after the prayers, we drink that water. And I never knew. I'm like, okay, we offering all the prasad, and why are we just why we also offering? Maybe it's just if God is thirsty, he'll have water, and then we drink it. But then I realized the purpose of that water is because when we're praying, we're chanting, all that
Right.
vibrations are going in the water, and then we are drinking that, so that's giving us the positive effect. And so now I'm like, now I understand why we are doing certain things. So I guess as we grow and as we understand new things, we learn all these why this is happening. Because for your generation, it's a different story, Sheetal. But for us, when we were growing up, we never really asked a lot of questions to our parents or grandparents why
Right.
we're
You just
doing
did
this
it.
or
Yeah.
what does this mean. Or we just did because we were asked to follow them. We were
There are so
asked.
many things we do, we don't know why.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why it helps us understand how this newer generation is thinking and what your experiences is what sheds us knowledge of certain new things that we never knew of, right? So Sheetal, you've also worked with so many people, thousands of people. And what are some of the most common patterns you see when people are living in their survival mode?
There's not one specific one, but it's a lack of love, lack of feeling loved, or lack of feeling safe, which I think intertwine really within each other, because basic human needs, is to feel loved, is to feel safe, is to feel comforted and then fed and nourished, right? So the basic human needs comes from that. So what I recognize is, and obviously I don't, if people come in with background, I don't go straight into like that, but there are some people who are very open to diving into some deeper things, and we start working on that. And sometimes something as small as, I've done a couple sessions of adjustments with them. We've built rapport, and all I have to do is pop my hand on their chest, you can take a deep breath in, and it's just, you're in that space, in that intent, that you create a safe space, and people just begin to cry.
Yeah.
And it's like, you are safe, and they just melt, popping the hands on the chest. So safety is a big one, which is why actually I created the retreat Deep Homecoming. Deep Homecoming is all about like creating the connecting back with a safe space within yourself. Because we all have that, right? As a kid, I think I was going to say this earlier on as well. I forgot what we were going to say, but as a kid, we already know things. We already are safe. We're already happy. We already kind of
Right.
are just free. It's then when you get taught that you're not worthy. Again, not worthy, not deserving. All that stuff is just going back to, are you loved? Are you safe? So that is what lacks in the survival when people are stuck in survival mode, which most of us are, just to different degrees. No matter how much work you've done, we've all got some kind of survival skills happening because we've got a brain that's been trained to live in a certain way. And from the first 7 years, not sure if you've heard, the first 7 years when you are basically a tape recorder and we're just learning everything, taking everything on. We've probably been around parents, especially in our society, I think, and like in the culture we are. There has been a lot of, because of ancestral things, there's been a lot of survival skills that have been learned. So you just pass it on. And most of us didn't question things. We just kind of learn the same patterns, like you said, right? You learn the same patterns of being. In the moment, maybe as a kid you ask, but you would get told to quieten down, and you maybe either even get a little smack or something. Then, so you just zipped up and you just learned what the parents were doing, and they might have been rushing around, they might have been yelling or snapping quickly. Even if they spoke quietly and nicely, there's two ends. You're either rushing around and snapping and like you don't have the time and patience to slow down and then speak to the children. The easy way out, and I found this with parenting, I think. I'm not a parent yet, but what I've noticed, because I've got younger siblings as well, is when it comes to slowing down, the reason someone will tell you off is mostly actually them, the parents or the older person, the guardian, just not having the time or the patience in their mind to sit down. They are running out of time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think as a parent, I can say that thinking back when my kids were young, I feel like moms, especially, they're worn out, they're tired, they're exhausted, and to have that patience, we do have patience, but there is like, okay, calm down. You tell yourself 100 times. It takes a lot. I think it takes a lot as a parents to
Yeah.
be patient and there's it's a funny story I guess I can share. It's from Osho, and he was once telling a story about a lady with a little girl, and the girl kept crying and bothering, and the lady kept saying, Jennifer, calm down. Jennifer, calm down. And the person listening to her constantly, he was like, wow, she's saying it so calmly to the girl to calm down. And so after a while, he said, wow, you're really amazing. Having so much patience, and you're telling her so patiently to calm down. And she's like, no, Jennifer is me. I'm telling myself to calm down. So that was one of the stories I've heard a long time back. And I always use that for myself every time when I feel like I'm getting anxious. I'm like, okay, Arti, calm down.
But again, that goes back to the same thing, right? Love and safety.
Yeah.
As a parent, you are so pushed, like, because you're not just looking after yourself, but now you're looking after, maybe you're looking after your team, running businesses, but and looking after our little or many little people who you have to bring up and teach more ways. So you're really pushed and you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you will be living from default mode. And default mode is what you learned as well, when you've been in a fear space or in a traumatized space or in a fear, traumatized, painful space. It's all those kind of things. So yeah, of course, it makes sense. And I guess you're kind of reparenting yourself as well, like calm down, calm
Yeah.
down.
So
Yeah.
I want to know, sorry, I wanted to know, like, when any patient comes in, do they always have any physical requirements, like, back pain or back issues or leg issues or arms or whatever, or is it more emotional?
People typically come in with physical pain, typically because they're coming into chiropractic and that's what they've been taught chiropractic is. However, there are some people who come in with anxiety or lack of confidence, or very rarely they might have irregular hormone balance or gut issues, but mainly it's physical pain, whether it's a headache, shoulder injury, knee, ankle, hip, back, neck, whatever. Yeah, that's the main thing people come in with. And then any physical pain in the body. Okay, bold enough to say any physical dysfunction this Japanese could be is from internal things and your body's not in a happy space.
And is
So
it
yeah,
connected to like you treating them holistically? Does that really help with the pain, or is it just the physical things you would do to ease the pain for them?
that's a great question. It's actually a lot more. So what I found sometimes is physically they'll have a lot of muscle tightness, a lot of stuckness, joints not moving properly. And so you'll do the adjustments. And now it's all moving better. And you'll do the test and be like, look, because we do tests to see the progress as well. And you'll see that they're actually moving so much better. There's better range of motion. The muscle tightness is reduced. They can move to a greater degree. And sometimes the pain comes back. And sometimes the pain comes back after they've been better. And so now this is where the psychological factor or the emotional factor kicks in, where, oh, well, now that I'm better after being sore for 10 years, now I have to do all the work that I could get out of doing. This is just an example, right? But
Yeah.
so now the body's like, oh, you know what? And this is subconsciously. Most people consciously aren't creating pain unless they're a kid who doesn't want to go to school. But at a subconscious level, the pain kicks in and you're like, oh, hey, doc or Sheetal, this is really, really sore again. And I'm like, okay, let me look. And sometimes it's actually not as stuck as it used to be. Maybe there's a bit of tension, but there's a deeper level of stuff happening there. And so that's when we work into the deeper things of whether there's emotions or a lack of feeling loved and safe, or just even the basic things of like, okay, do I feel ready enough to go back to work? Because I haven't had to work for the last X amount of months or years, whether that's work, career work, or whether it's doing some housework and taking out the rubbish. Yeah. Yeah.
So can you share us a powerful story that might have, you've seen the transformation in your clients?
Yeah. We've had, I've seen so many beautiful ones. So one I'll actually share with right now is that this lady to, she was just quite, okay, I'm trying to see how much I can share because she probably watched this. So this lady, she was very, very lacking confidence, very sore, always getting injured. And I found that when it comes to getting injured, there's also the factor of, again, the same thing.
Sheetal, we
There's
lost you.
deeper things. There's deeper belief systems which maybe you put your weight onto a certain part. Like this lady always injured her ankles. So you might shift your weight into a certain way so that you're always going to be injuring your ankle, right? Because you're holding yourself a certain way. But anyways, she could barely eat. She couldn't lose weight. Um, she didn't have any confidence. So much pain. Couldn't work
You cutting
anymore.
off, dear.
Couldn't socialize much. Just life was very annoying and stuck. What ended up happening is, can you hear me? It says,
You cutting off, dear. You completely, the whole story is cut off. Can you start over?
okay,
I'll edit the part.
all right, all right. Yes. So we're going to talk about, so this lady, she came in, she couldn't walk much. Energy was low, she had a lot of body pain, with back pain, her always getting injured in the ankles. She couldn't work. Her confidence was low. All these different things happening, and so many diagnoses. And she's really young, by the way. We started working together. Some of the stuff I did was very gentle work. Typically, when people think about chiropractic, they think about manipulating big cracks, etc. But I did some gentle work that's called network as well. Work spinal work as a type of chiropractic technique where you'll kind of use fingers and very gentle specific touches to help the spinal cord and mind. But anyways, did some gentle things, did a bit of emotional work, and it didn't take too long for her body to really start unwinding, opening up, gaining confidence, having strength, to having the ability to work again, finding jobs, the confidence to even think, I want to go start working. That was huge, first of all. And then she started to work, and it's been 2 years now she's been working. She's lost quite a bit of weight as well. She can sleep. She had this whole entire life changed around because her body was now connected better, not holding on to a lot of fear and trauma, which obviously people have to be open to work through. But she had gone to see so many people to the point where people just tell you, hey, like, I don't know what else to do with you. And this happens with so many young ladies, especially. Like, they'll come in with pain and lack of confidence, but they don't even realize they have anxiety sometimes. And then we start breaking things apart, and then things that never could ever change for them, never could carry on working for X amount of hours, or they'd always have pain. All of a sudden, they can now have proper normal, longer hours, normal quote unquote jobs. Yeah, and then it's really cool
Do
to
you
see
see
that.
this more? Do you see this more in the younger women or older women?
Both,
Both.
both, both. Yeah, because younger women these days have a lot of that stuff happening, but then of course older people will always have a history of stuff. So older women always definitely have that, because women across the world are taught to just give, and suppress in a way, right? For different cultures, they're all taught some way or the other. They've been taught to just zip it and just give and give and give, but they forget to give back to themselves. So a lot of the ignoring yourself begins to somewhere in the body manifest as something, and yeah, and that could be any kind of disease. So working into the giving yourself love and safety allows your body to, it can be messy. It can be very messy starting off, because you have to start off with acknowledging that you haven't done that. And so that your body might scream with more pain to start off with. Your body might show up with more anxious emotions to start off with, because now you're just letting open everything that was always suppressed. But after that letting open, after it always takes longer, by the way. It takes longer if you are feeling weird about it and you're not wanting to open up. But if you just let it be and if you completely surrender to the process, it actually speeds up. Not that you're wanting it to speed up, but just a tip.
Yeah.
And that allows you to, once you've gone through that and releasing, you acknowledging yourself, obviously there's layers, but you're now able to go through, okay, I'm starting to feel better. I can sleep better. I can eat better. I don't want to eat now for some people, or they want to eat better things. It's
It's basically like,
younger and older.
like you're saying, it's the authenticity. It's such a core part of healing. And that's what it helps, right? So, why do you think, why do so many, especially our Desi women, struggle with it?
Because you're not meant to be yourself. You have to be this and you have to be that. You have to be perfect. You have to be quiet. You have to be good. You have to be this and that. And if you aren't that, then, I mean, I don't know if many parents do this now, but it was still a thing when I was growing up, where you can be told off and you can be given a bit of a smack or something. I know there's a lot of changes in generations now where you're not allowed to do that and kids will tell the police or something, but it was definitely a thing. And so that, plus our history, if you look into the history of survival skills, was so needed when different people would come into, all the little wars that happen over land, different people trying to do that. So then men would have to fight and women would have to be a certain way, and because of what they learned, they got passed down. People don't actually realize, sadly, because if you go into, this is a passionate thing for me, if you go into looking into like ancient history, ancient textbooks, it doesn't tell you to be all like wearing certain clothes and being a certain way. You're actually meant to be like, women are not like that. Like, they're very empowering and open, and you can do, but because of what might have happened to protect ourselves, people forgot the protection part. They just remembered the rules because maybe survival skills, and then that just got passed down, and then no questions were asked, and you just had to be a certain way. And that's how I've noticed so many women have thyroid issues, because you're not speaking, you're being so all the weight gaining that begins to happen for so many women, again, you're holding in things. Inflammation is beginning to happen. So your body's going to be gaining, like, that's all connected. Yeah, so that's why a lot of our Desi women have these issues, because of they were told to not speak up, to not be themselves, to not question things. And just
The emotions that are holded in and they're never been able to express themselves. Especially, I think the
exactly.
older generation was like where we just, when you hold on, it was considered like, okay, she knows how to handle things, but it's not the right way. You're supposed to express your feelings. You're supposed to express your thoughts, but that was one of the things that was not taught at that time, like you said.
Never allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You're looked down upon if you were expressing your things. If you weren't smiling and or maybe like I when my maternal grandmother passed away, when was saying how lovely she was and how quiet and calm and friendly, and I was like, that's lovely, and I do see that in her eyes. But if someone's quiet and calm and loving and caring, that's good. But did they ever express themselves? Did they ever speak up? So yeah, that's definitely, you were taught to be so many. I know there are different parts of the Desi woman culture, but many people I've heard or know of is like you're taught to be just a certain specific way. You can't be outside that book, otherwise you're
Yeah.
looked down at.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So if
Even when it comes
one,
to parenting, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one practice someone could start today to begin reconnecting with their own authentic self, what would that be? Can you share?
Honestly, the most easy, basic, simple thing is just I tell everyone this, just take a moment to breathe. Because we're so busy, like it's crazy the amount of women, again, going back to women, men don't say this as much. Women say this a lot. Men would, yeah. Yeah, women actually say this more than men do. They tell me, oh my God, I forgot to breathe.
Yeah.
I forgot to breathe. Oh, I stop breathing when I'm busy. Obviously, they don't stop breathing, but they're like probably hyper breathing, hyperventilating, and all these different types. And what are you doing
Because
when
it
you're doing
makes a
that? If you
difference, right? When you're busy and you breathe, of course you're breathing all the time, but when you consciously breathing, it makes so much difference you can feel it in your lungs, in your brain, and your body, the whole oxygen coming in and out. And it's,
Basically, meditation.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It just feels so good about that, right? But
So,
so,
everyone that's listening right now, let's just take one moment to take a deep breath in.
yes, let's
Yep,
do this.
right now. It just quietens your mind down.
Oh my God.
And that allows you to come from a space of authenticity, which means what that means is you're not, yes, there's layers, I've already said this, but you're able to go from rush, 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 rush to, oh, okay. And that allows you to think more clearly as well. So just in your busy days, moments of life, take a deep breath in, a slow, long, deep breath. Sometimes I tell people take a deep breath in and practice when I'm adjusting them, and they will tense up their shoulders and go, I'm like, okay, no, a long, gentle, deep breath. That's the clue.
Yeah. So you also starting your authenticity coaching online soon, right? Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about that and what can people expect from it?
I love this because I guess I brought that. I already kind of work on this when I'm working hands on with people. As I believe, as a chiropractor, we talk about the spinal cord winds up based on your patterns of life, like we spoke about patterns, right? And as that unwinds, you begin to be more clearer, thinking more clear, letting go of belief and patterns and habits, etc. Okay, cool, I get to do that. But then you have a certain amount of time and you can't just work deeply into you can, but it just takes a lot more time. So then I thought, okay, authenticity coaching, let's just directly work on that. But what is authenticity? It is you. Authenticity is just you being you, like just.
Hmm.
So then there's going to be, with authenticity coaching, the way I'd like to direct this is it's kind of guided by you, the person who's coming through into this. And the goal is here to help you achieve just being more of you. And that will show up in your relationships and your professional lives because you're being able to come from a space of, yes, authenticity, but from a space that's not held back by fears, held back by patterns of reactions and survival skills. It's just you raw and showing up as you. And when people say, there's two types of authenticity, by the way, there's the buzzword authenticity, like I'm going to be so authentic in myself. And that means they will be showing up in this crazy personality and like, cool, you do you. But when I say authenticity, I'm talking about the deeper within you that when you take a deep breath in and you just feel that silence and that peace and that quietness, that's what I'm talking about. That deep within you that can just be there, not getting affected by other people's stories, because you know your truth. And therefore you're in a much better space, bigger space of success, of love, because all you're doing is just focusing sounds crazy as well. Like in that space, you're just being. Focusing
Yeah.
sounds too intense as well, but it's just easier to do things. So that's what help people achieve, because health comes from that. Love, success, everything comes from easier from that space, because you're not being held back.
Yeah.
Rather than the authenticity of the whole, like, the buzzword, they'll people be like, I feel like this, so I'm going to tell them I feel like this. That's me being authentic. I feel like that's part of the healing process. People go through that, but I mean deeper than that.
Right.
Is food a part of this holistic method of treating people? It is.
100%, yeah.
Can you please elaborate on that? Do you recommend certain foods to feel a certain way, or is there a certain pattern with foods that you need to follow in order to feel better?
I never like to give a certain kind of thing, because like in Ayurveda, they always speak about there's different body types, and they'll speak about the three body types, but they're also different mixtures, right? So Pitta, Vata, and Kapha, and like they have the different combos as well. So I never just give it off randomly. But what is best though, to like in general, we're all humans, and we're all connected to the cycle of nature. So what is best is, okay, I'll break this down. So for all humans, what best is to go with the sun cycle. So, you eat more when the sun's up in the sky, and don't eat so much at night, whereas most people these days, even sometimes I can, like, especially when it's cold in winter, where you're like, okay, I'm cold, and you get home late, 9, 10, don't want to be eating that late. That's when everyone goes for the desserts and snacks, and it's not the best for the body at that time. If you have to because of your work lifestyle, then just try and, again, that's when you want to work with someone, a professional, whether it's me or whoever, to kind of break down how you can cope around that. But the ideal would be waking up, eating a bit in the morning, and then eating the most during like midday, and then less during afternoon, not too much at night at all if possible. Then, this is why I said I'll break it down. So there's a sun cycle, and then of course there's the moon cycle for the woman. You're going to follow that. Whether you are bleeding or not anymore, there still is a moon cycle that your body is going to be following. Finding that and what works best for your body. Less inflammatory foods closer to your time of bleeding. Just like a week or two before you'll feel like eating more. Do that, because your body is needing the energy to release. And so following that moon cycle as well per month. Yeah, I mean, of course, always suggesting listen to your body. And when I say listen to your body, I'm not saying your mind, I feel like ice cream. You can do that. Sometimes you're going to feed yourself that. Great. But also, you'll notice your body will. I actually have a post to make. Find a hobby. Find a hobby that you are able to realize what your body feels like. And then when you eat certain things, can I concentrate as well? Can I move as well? Can I do certain things? Am I as creative, depending on whatever the hobby is? Or do I feel like my flow is stuck, my creativity is stuck, my movement is stuck? And that's what's really helped. And in general, people speak about sugar, dairy being inflammatory things, but there's different body types, and some people can go off a bit more sugar than other people. So just listen to how your body responds. So find a hobby and then be able to connect things with that. Probiotics, always, you want to make sure your guts are feeling good. And when it comes to the whole gluten debate, I'm not going to get into that, because culturally, our body is made to be having more, like, have some kind of like rotis and paratas and, the different things. So, yeah, so you're going to find your own body type, your own way. And that's why it comes best to either discuss with someone who is a professional, or just really take a moment, breathe, and feel into what your body's liking and not liking, and how is it responding. Do you have more pain? Let's say you've got knee pain all the time. Did you eat some pickles or something, now your knee's more sore? Okay, well, maybe it's more inflammatory for you. Did you have a sugar thing in your body don't feel? But overall, spicy, dairy, and sugar is more on the inflammatory side of things.
But sometimes eating sour also kind of makes you swell up
Yeah.
Oh,
in some people,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So I guess you just wait it out, or how do you take care of such situations?
If you get inflamed, is that what you're saying?
Right, right.
Yes. The easiest way is to, what I personally believe, and for my body at least, easiest way is to get more things that nourish you.
Okay.
Sleeping, breathing, making sure when I say breathing, I'm making sure like your body's coming into a de-stress space. You're getting good rest. And the rest of it, also remember, if your body does get a bit inflamed or swelled up, allow that to happen because that's a process that was meant to happen. It was made to be in your body. So just take it with peace and love. And as long as you know, okay, my body doesn't like this. And then yes, wear it out. But the more your body gets into a space of, oh crap, no, oh, the body's not liking this, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You tense up more, you create more inflammatory response.
Yeah.
And your body says, oh crap, we should have this. And then it's going to react badly to it even furthermore. So understand, okay, my body didn't like this so much. Okay, I know for next time. But the inflammation process, if that wasn't there, you'd be dead. Like it's made to be there to help you process life and go through things.
Yeah.
So give your
I
body
when
that
I
acknowledgement.
eat a lot of sour things, my eyelids swell up. Like when I wake
Mm.
up in the morning, if I eat something really sour at night, then I know the next morning I'm like gonna be like, it's so swollen. It's like I can tell that. Oh gosh.
Your body probably has a bigger sensitivity to it than just something else. Then maybe try and not have anything that sour.
Yeah. But I
Because
love
if your
sour.
eyes swell up, there's a beautiful thing around this actually. Sometimes we crave. So there's two factors here. In terms of bacteria and stuff, that bacteria is craving that to grow more, hence why you might be wanting that.
Yeah.
So that's one factor, but then you'll find yourself get sick. Like, have you ever noticed before you get really, really sick, you've been craving some things more inflammatory foods, I guess? That's because that's the virus or the bacteria or whatever that is that's into your body or is in the body that's wanting to grow more. It's like, it's time for me to grow, and then you get sick. Sick is also your body's way of getting rid of it.
Mm.
So that's one factor, and the other factor is, now this is deep stuff, but like when they speak about like eyes, if your eyes kind of get irritated or you've got have eyesight issues, they say they can be related to the straining and then the stress. Now I'm not going to go really deep into that, but then just adding the two factors, sour, what does sour give you? Maybe it gives you excitement, and your body might be wanting excitement, and therefore the stress. Just connecting different dots
Another way of
together.
looking at it. Yeah. Instead of, like you said, instead of getting stressed or tense that, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
has happened to me. I guess that's another approach that,
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
I just enjoy it because I just look funny, and so I think it's more of a
Yes, that's a positive way to look at it. That, okay, I know why this is happening and I'm just gonna
yeah.
wait it out.
I'm like, it's okay. I mean, even the day before when I eat it, I know I always say, oh my gosh, tomorrow I'm gonna morning when I wake up.
But you still enjoy it. You still enjoy what you're eating.
Oh, I love that. Now that makes it better, though. That makes it better.
So, Sheetal, what does it mean to you to be a global Desi woman?
I love this question. A global Desi woman. Okay. To me, it means honestly owning every part of you and standing up with that. So when I say every part of you, I mean the layers. I mean the belief system. I mean everything you're being taught from your culture because your ancestors, everything we've just talked about, stripping away from. I mean, owning all of that and saying, yeah, this is my culture and this is what's brought me here and this is how I actually get to impact the world because of the way because my trauma or my stories, my belief systems, my sort of the way my parents were taught and the things they got through and their ancestors and their etc. etc allowed me to be who I am. And so showing up with that full culture of everything, the culture, the food, the thoughts and beliefs, the clothes and everything, showing up with that to make the impact because that creates the unique version of me, the unique version of you, and we can show up with that to our stories will create a big impact for people. And yeah.
Awesome. Wow, very nice. Very nice. I love it. So we will add all your information in our description so that our listeners can find you, connect with you, and hopefully work with you. This was such a beautiful conversation, Sheetal. Thank you so much for showing us the power of healing within, like, the whole system, a holistic way. And it truly means to live authentically. For all our Desi women out there holding it together for everyone else, this is your invitation to hold space for yourself too. You deserve a life that feels free, aligned, and deeply joyful. And if today's episode moved you, share it with your friend who needs it too. And keep tuning in every week. We have our powerful episodes every week, and we are available on all major platforms. Until next time, be kind to yourself and to others. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you, Vinu. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.